What's the deal? What are they actually partnering on here?
So Airbnb is going to offer, through certain flights, people who fly on Virgin and then end up at an Airbnb destination will then be able to earn some Elevate points. Elevate is the affinity program for Virgin America, which I know so well because I have
you are a frequent flyer.
A gazillion Elevate points.
I think understates
it's interesting because it's a different kind of business than it used to be. I mean, they are at a very different place today, Airbnb is, than they were before. So for that matter, so is Virgin America. But Virgin America is a much more established brand that means something to a certain kind of consumer. Listen to what Jonathan Mildenhall wanted to say about sort of the way that this is a growth company.
This
the way
is the CMO of Airbnb.
Chief Marketing Officer of Airbnb. Check this out.
We started off, obviously, as quite a niche traveller proposition, but we've grown tremendously over the last 7 years. It took us 4 years to go from guest number 1 to guest number 1 million, and this year we'll end up having 60 million travellers travel on Airbnb.
60 million?
60 million travellers.
Different people?
Different people, from wow. The beginning to now. And so as we continue to scale, we become a more mainstream traveller proposition, and that gives us license to partner with more mainstream travel brands as we've got more to offer partners such as Virgin America.
It's kind of amazing. And, you know, we wanted to talk about sort of the way the business works and how they see themselves. You know, the CEO of Airbnb famously tweeted something out about a year ago saying we're going to, Marriott just made a big announcement how many hotel rooms they're going to add in the next 3 years. We're going to add more than that in the next 3 weeks, more rooms. And so I asked him sort of how do they look at themselves within the company and the way that they market themselves? Are they staying in someone's living room, or are they an alternative to a Hyatt or a Hilton or a Sheraton or a Starwood even? And how are they going to market themselves going forward? Listen to what he had to say.
Well, we like to think that we're additive to the overall market, but this year we will close on having 2 million properties on the Airbnb platform. So we've basically doubled in size versus last year. Our occupancy rate can go from anything to 100% occupancy in a city like San Francisco to seasonal occupancy in a city like Orlando.
That's interesting because Airbnb is going to be on the ballot for San Francisco voters, and Prop F, the opponents are saying that they're taking away long-term rentals.
Well, if you think about that, I was talking to a friend today about sort of low-income housing in San Francisco and what low-income housing, what a city can do to determine what they want to be. And should a city, for example, provide low-income housing? Well, I would argue absolutely they should, because it helps the city have the character that you want.
And isn't that supposed to be one of Ed Lee's big things?
And yet, if you let people rent things at a market rate, by definition, it's not low-income anymore. It becomes whatever you want it to be.
Jeff, I mean, how concerned are you about the regulatory issues surrounding Airbnb and these kinds of battles that they continue to have to fight, not just in San Francisco, but around the world?
The two most interesting sort of on-demand companies, both Uber and Airbnb, are scaling really, really fast, but they're also sort of tackling those sort of regulatory issues. I think that
they hate being put in the same bucket, though, by the way.
I know,
at least Airbnb does. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they actually are in front of a ballot where some people are trying to sort of limit how much of those rooms or sort of apartments can be put on Airbnb. So I think
spending $2 million in this one local election to win this battle
because San Francisco is really sort of home turf. They have to win it. Right?
Well, or it could be the model for what other cities want to do going forward.
Mm-hmm. So I think the issue when we think about those investments is how much of the regulatory sort of framework do we have to compete against, try and change, and in their case they're going to have to sort of find that balance between the need to have low-income housing, but also the need for them to be able to scale, and it's going to be tricky.
Cory, you also spoke to Branson.
Yeah.
He talked to you a little bit about is he an investor in Airbnb?
He is not an investor in Airbnb as far as I know, but I was surprised to find out that he was an investor in Uber, and the way that he made that investment. We're talking about Necker Island and talking about sort of building a brand and talking about what goes on in Necker Island. I've heard lots of stories, some of which we can talk about, some of which we can't. Well, maybe we'll talk about it off camera. But he talked about making the investment while he was standing at the bar at Necker Island and deciding right then and there to make them. Listen, this is how Richard Branson invests.
Uber, I ended up investing in at the bar on Necker.
Really?
Airbnb. There's a wonderful new company called Ring, which I invested in at the bar on Necker. That's exploding here in America and saving lots of people from being broken and entered into.
Tell me you got more of the story there. Tell me you got more.
I saw them at a benefit last night for a benefit of the ocean and trying to get they raised $600,000 in San Francisco at this benefit last night. And I saw Branson there, and yes, there were some stories, and there was some lots of
good to
fun kiteboarding.
get to the bar, get investment from Branson.
Yeah.